Happy birthday to me. That's right. I happen to be shooting this vlog on my birthday, Thursday, September 22nd. Hanging out here in front of my old trusty vintage travel trailer. Only I'm no longer up in the cool, lush, green Eastern Sierra at that hot spring where I shot my last vlog. No siree. After I made that last vlog, I decided to come home here to the Death Valley compound and face my challenges. That's right, Wonderhussy here, and welcome to another edition of my series, Death Valley Life, wherein I chronicle my totally bonkers and, well, sometimes seemingly inadvisable move from Las Vegas to the wilds of Death Valley, or I should say, well, 11 miles outside Death Valley, since this compound isn't technically in the bounds of Death Valley National Park. We live 11 miles outside it, but that's close enough. Anyway, in my last vlog, I was camped out in my vintage travel trailer at the hot spring, trying to decide what I should do, because if you recall, I was pretty sick, and my sister had COVID, and the property was flooded out, and oh gosh, I really didn't want to come home and face all of that. I just wanted to stay up in the mountains forever. But I'm sure many, if not most of you watching this, have been in similar situations where, well, you're facing something somewhat unpleasant, but you know the right thing to do, and the only thing to do, is to plow right through it. Like there's some country music song when they go, if you're going through hell, you gotta just keep going. That's the only way to get out. Well, I'm not saying this is hell, but I'm not saying it's heaven either. Ugh, even though today is the last day of summer or the first day of fall, it's still pretty friggin' hot. Although I guess relatively speaking, it's not that hot. It's been like in the 90s and I think maybe the upper 90s today, but after being in the Sierra Mountains, that's hot, man. I'm going down here in the shade by the old Quonset hut. We have this giant metal Quonset hut on our property that I'm pretty sure I've showed before in videos. Here it is. I don't know how tall it is or how big it is, but it's like 2 stories and it goes on for quite a way. And well, it provides a lot of shade and I'm going to go stand in it right now. Okay, so there's been a few developments, obviously, since last video I shot. My sister had COVID. I was at the hot spring. I took 3 COVID tests and I didn't test positive, but I was pretty sick. I'm not sure what I had, but I guess it wasn't COVID since I took 3 tests and they all came out negative. But the good news is I'm well now. I'm back to 100%. I just needed a little bit of sleep and rest and, you know, liquids, stuff like that. And my sister has also fully recovered from COVID. I think she might have some lingering fatigue, but other than that, her symptoms are gone. She's testing negative. Matter of fact, right after I shot that last vlog, she texted me and said, hey, guess what? I tested negative. You can come home now. And we had another friend that was staying here, helping her with the flood damage, because we had some flood damage, which I'll get to in a minute. Well, he had COVID too, but he also tested negative. So I felt like since they both didn't have COVID anymore, I couldn't stay at that hot spring forever. You know, there was significant damage done because of this flooding. I really needed to get home and face my challenges. Okay, so when it comes to flood damage, mostly, I mean, this is all desert all around us. I mean, you can see in front of our compound, it's just open desert. As far as the eye can see, there are no homes back there. Totally undeveloped land. And, well, this mountain next to us here, that is privately owned, but it's also undeveloped. And so when it rained, I mean, I don't remember how much rain we got here, but it was a lot of rain for the desert. And this ground is so dry and so hard packed that normally, like if you live in the Midwest or on the East Coast and it rains and the ground sort of sucks it up, well, that doesn't happen here. In fact, you might remember I made a video once, we were getting our septic tank pumped and it was raining real hard. And because the ground can't suck it up, there was like a whole river running down the street here. Well, that happened again, only like 10 times as bad. Matter of fact, this whole street here that runs alongside the compound, I don't know, it might still be closed off to traffic. I mean, I know it was for a while. Down at the end where the paved road is, there was a sign up that said flooded, blocking it. So you couldn't, even if you had 4-wheel drive, you couldn't come up this way. So when I got home from the hot spring, I couldn't even come up this way. I had to come up over this way. But it does look, I don't know, to me it looks like it has been graded finally. This road's in a lot better condition than it was when I got home. And I think the Inyo County roads crew did come out here yesterday. Yeah, matter of fact, it does. It looks real good compared to what it was. And that makes sense because I did happen to be standing out here yesterday when the Inyo County road crew came by with their grader. And they did say they were gonna fix the road for us, so I guess that's exactly what they did. Oh, look at that. They even fixed a ramp coming up to our driveway here. Or actually, I'm not sure about that. I think the Inyo County guys just did the road. This here, and then our driveway over here, well, that had to be regraded at our own expense. Okay, you can probably see we have a pretty steep dirt driveway leading up to the compound there. And after the rains, this thing was pretty thrashed. I mean, to be honest, it was already in pretty bad shape. Like, my sister and I both have 4Runners, 4-wheel drive. You know, we can get up and down there no problem. But we've had a few people come to visit that really didn't feel comfortable driving all the way up the driveway. So they just parked down here where my trailer is. Fortunately, we were able to find a neighbor. There's a guy across the street a few blocks down who has a hot spring resort, and he's got a bunch of his own construction equipment. So he agreed to come over here and fix our driveway. And I think he did this too here, leading up to the Quonset hut. He made a few repairs for us. It took him, gosh, I think it took him like 7 hours over 2 days, but he filled this in by scooping dirt from the berm over here. He had like a, oh gosh, there was a tractor with like a bucket on the front and a scrapey thing on the back. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, he did fix it all. And well, he only charged us $125 an hour, and it only took 7 hours. So, oh my God, you do the math. This was one very expensive rainstorm. And then as far as the rest of the flood damage, there really wasn't much. We were lucky. My sister said, and I wasn't here to see it, but she said inside the living room, we have like an area rug, and she said that was wet. And they figured out that the reason it was wet wasn't that the roof was leaking or anything like that. My sister thinks, and our friends that are staying here with us concur with her, that what happened is because there's dirt or like an earthen berm built up against the side of the house here, well, this all got sodden during the rain, soaked through, and then the water seeped in where the masonry wall meets the foundation of the house. I mean, it does kind of look like there's water damage to the stucco there at the bottom. And I guess it's not really a structural issue since the friggin' walls are masonry. Just because a little water leaked through isn't going to make the whole house fall down, I guess. But I think my sister's plan, or her long-term plan, is we need to remove... You can kind of see from where I'm standing here. There is a pretty significant earthen berm pushing up against the side of the house, going up maybe, I don't know, 6 inches up the wall. And I guess that's not something you want. In the event of a 1,000-year flood, that's what they said that was. They said that water event that we had, that flood that we had, was a 1 in 1,000-year flood. So, if all goes well, we shouldn't have any more storms like that for another 999 years. But anyway, that little bit of water damage there and the water damage to the driveway were really the only damage that was done to our property. So I guess all things considered, we were pretty lucky, you know, like what, $875 to grade the driveway, and well, I guess it's just going to be a lot of sweat equity to shovel that berm away. But through all of this, we weren't completely overwhelmed because we happen to have 2 really cool and competent friends staying with us, helping us deal with all this mess. I'm very, very, very lucky to have such cool and competent friends. My friend Randy, who is the guy that refurbished this old vintage travel trailer for me back in 2016. Well, he's just one of those guys that, you know, he's older, he's retired, he likes helping people. And so he just kind of travels around helping people. And so he proposed, he went to Burning Man, same as me and my sis. He proposed coming here after Burning Man and staying for, gosh, a month or 2 months to just help us with projects. And then even better, he has a really good friend who's a licensed contractor and knows what he's doing. He's built homes, he's built all kinds of stuff. He agreed to come out here and help us finally build a covered patio around the south and west sides of the house. You can see here maybe there's some stuff laid out, construction stuff, that our friend put up to mark kind of like where the shade structure is going to come out. He's going to build a porch coming off the side of the house about 10 feet and then pillars coming down. And then I'm not sure what's going on in the seating area. There's going to be like a bigger area to sit under. And even better than that, well, it's going to extend around the back of the house too to block the western sun, which is brutal. But he's also building us a carport here for my sister and my cars. Okay, there's going to be a 2-person carport here and a porch wrapping all the way around the house. And he's not messing around either. He already ordered the lumber. Like, he's very professional. You can see how he, put little flags up and marked everything out. Like, this dude knows what he's doing, and he's an awesome guy. Just has a wonderful personality. He's staying down here in our 5th-wheel travel trailer. We have a 5th-wheel travel trailer over here that's, well, decently habitable. So he's staying in that, and then my friend Randy is staying in his RV. He was going to park his RV right here, but when he got here, the ground was too soft from the rain, so he had to go park at one of the RV resorts in town. But he's going to be moving his RV over here in a few days, so we'll have 2 buddies on property with us, helping us. And when I say helping us, I really mean they're doing all the work. I'm just standing around going like, oh, can I hold that board for you while you drill it, this has been a really sobering awakening for me in this compound journey. I don't have what it takes to do home improvement projects. I just don't have that kind of mind. I don't have the ability, and frankly, I don't have the time. I'm trying to run this YouTube channel and do all this other stuff I'm doing. It's a huge, huge blessing, and I don't use the term blessing lightly, to have these 2 guys come stay with us and basically do everything for us. I mean, what did I ever do to get that lucky? Now, that being said, they did have some complaints, or I don't know if you could really call them complaints, maybe more like questions, like, what on earth are you girls doing? And, well, a big question was about what's going on inside this Quonset hut. We had a bunch of stuff piled up in here, stuff that we thought, well, I'll be honest with you. When we bought this property, our idea was, oh, we just got this giant Quonset. This is amazing. We're going to turn this into our Death Valley Adventurers Clubhouse. We're going to turn it into like a library hangout space with bookshelves and artifacts and maps. And that is, well, I won't say that's never going to happen, but it's definitely not going to happen in the next few years. But while we were waiting for it to happen, we were stockpiling a bunch of furniture in the Quonset hut in preparation for turning it into this Death Valley Adventurers Lounge. And no, this mushroom really wasn't one of them. Some artist friends of ours made this mushroom, and they stored it. Well, they were storing it in here. I think they're actually going to use it at a festival in a couple months and burn it. So this mushroom won't be in our Quonset hut very much longer. And when it's gone, it'll open up even more space. I don't know, you might be able to tell. I don't remember the last time I shot footage in here, but there was a lot more furniture in here that we just cleaned out because the guys that are helping us on the property, well, the guy who's a contractor, he wants to set up all his tools and like be organized and like have a workspace. And we're about to have all this lumber delivered to build this porch, so we need a place to lay out the lumber. And well, he opened the door in here thinking, oh great, here's a giant workshop we can use. And then it was like jam-packed with crap, and I'm sure he was wondering why we had to have a giant mushroom on top of it all. So our friends gently recommended that we go through here and get rid of some stuff. And we did. We got rid of at least a couple old bikes that we had. We got rid of some junky old furniture. We got rid of, well, there were 3 refrigerators down here, which that reminds me, one of the other problems that I didn't want to come home and face was the fact that our refrigerator upstairs was broken. The compressor went out. And so we had no refrigeration. God, it's hot in here. I need to go back outside. We had no refrigeration in August in Death Valley. It was pretty brutal. I had my little 12-volt camping fridge, and so I was using that. My sister had a cooler, but it was rough. So our friend Randy, he can fix anything. This guy is a mechanical genius. So he came up here and, God, like the first day he was here, he fixed the washing machine. Okay, that was good news. Now we have a functioning washing machine again. And then he set about fixing the refrigerator, and he figured, oh, it's something to do with the motherboard. There's a motherboard in that particular style of refrigerator, which was an LG. Too fancy for me. I mean, I have this refrigerator at my house in Vegas that I bought for $100 back in 2011, and it was probably like 10 years old even then. And that thing still runs because it's not too fancy. You know, it doesn't have an automatic ice maker and water dispenser or motherboard. It's just a dang Whirlpool refrigerator. Well, this LG fridge that we had upstairs was too fancy. Something went wrong with it. Randy tried replacing the motherboard. Unfortunately, that wasn't the issue, so that was $100 down the drain for nothing. But, like I said, we did have 3 old refrigerators down here in the Quonset hut. Now, 2 of them were already down here. One of them was from the casita. When we first moved in, the casita was sort of set up like a guest house with a bedroom and a little kitchenette. And the fridge that was in the casita actually wasn't that bad. It was a KitchenAid. Didn't look that old, and it was relatively clean, so... Well, we had moved it down here to the Quonset hut, but our friends helped us move it back up to the house, and I spent 2 hours, probably closer to 3 hours yesterday, cleaning it out. And so now we have a new refrigerator in our kitchen that works with a functioning freezer, which means we can have ice and frozen fruit and cold drinks and all those luxurious items the old-time miners and prospectors out here never had. But it's frankly stuff that, well, I've come to realize I just can't live without. So anyway, that KitchenAid fridge is upstairs, but there's still 2 more refrigerators down here. Now you might be able to see there's blue duct tape on them, and that means dump. Anything with blue tape on here. Well, actually, some of them my sister marked dump. Like, I don't even know if this fridge works, and it looks pretty old. And then there's another fridge over there that's also marked dump. This is marked sell. I think it's for wrapping a car or something if you're trying to paint it. I mean, the guy we bought this house from built this whole Quonset hut in the first place because he restored classic cars. So when we first came to look at the property, this Quonset hut was full of super expensive tools and equipment, and most of it related to restoring classic cars. So there's still some stuff here, like there's this welder here. I don't know if anybody watching this needs a welder, but we're looking to sell this. Our friend Randy thinks we could probably get $800 for it. Well, we have to make sure it works first. There's a whole bunch of stuff. The reason he has these refrigerators down here is because it is so friggin' hot down here. And I'm shooting this video at the very end of the summer. Imagine how hot it is in this metal Quonset hut. It's like, essentially it's a giant oven. Imagine how hot it is in here in like July. And if this guy was restoring classic cars, well, he had a lot of stuff he needed to store that was flammable, you know? And so I guess what he did is he stored it in these refrigerators. He had one of them plugged in and running. The other one wasn't even plugged in. I guess it just keeps stuff cool-ish to keep it in a sealed refrigerator. I don't know. All I know is there's just an ungodly amount of weird stuff in here. And some of it I'm sure is useful to keep. Like, well, here's a big thing of acetone. Yeah, that's useful. Here's a giant roll of contractor bags. Yeah, that's useful. Oh, here's it's like a chamois for cleaning a car. That's useful. But then it's like, I don't know. Sign painters, one-shot high temp reducer. Is this even, I mean, it's full, but are we ever gonna use this? I don't know, man. I feel like it's better to just throw some of this stuff away. Acrylic lacquer primer, 5-minute epoxy gel. We're gonna go through the contents of this fridge with our friends because they obviously know what's good to keep and what's not, because I would have absolutely no idea. Like, here's case in point. This green tank here, I thought it was a propane tank, and it just says, Steve, this tank belongs to Victor Davis. I will tell him that you have it, thanks Bill. Well, apparently this is Freon. I mean, I don't know anything about this, but apparently it's some kind of Freon that you're not allowed to use anymore, or you can only use it for classic cars. I mean, I think that has something to do with what it is, Freon 22 or something. Anyway, Randy looked it up online, and come to find out this tank here, which is like 2/3 full, is worth like, I want to say like $400 or $500. See, I would never have guessed. I thought it was just some old propane tank. Golly, when I look back at us buying this property, it's been almost a year now, we were like 2 classic idiots. I mean, we were the proverbial big city slickers, me from Vegas, her from LA, coming out to the desert, buying this property, going, oh, we'll turn this into an adventure clubhouse with a giant mushroom and a disco ball. Oh, I'm just gonna sit down here in the shade here just for a minute. I mean, it is my dang birthday. I guess I can take a few minutes break, right? I mean, I spent all morning writing out thank you letters to everybody who sent me birthday gifts, which, by the way, everybody who sent me something for my birthday, thank you very much. I got some really neat stuff in the mail, including this awesome vintage Harley Davidson shirt. And besides this, I got a whole bunch of other cool stuff. So if you sent me something, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It definitely eased the sting of having to come home and face this mess. So anyway, I'm back here in Death Valley, and I'm going to be here for the foreseeable future. Like I said, our 2 friends are staying here at least until, I think they said the end of October, to help us with stuff. And so I'd be a real jerk if I just took off exploring while they were here doing all this work for us. No. I mean, if I really hustle, I can edit and upload 2 videos and do all my correspondence and stuff in probably 3 days a week, which leaves 4 days a week that I can help these guys out with all the projects they're doing. So I feel like that's what I need to do for at least the next 6 weeks. Unfortunately, I need to stay here in Death Valley and just take care of business. And I'll be honest with you, this is always a depressing time of year for me anyway. If I had my druthers, I wouldn't even be here right now. I'd still be traveling around. I mean, I always get depressed every year on my birthday. Boo-hoo, poor me. Well, I thought, well, this year I'm going to go someplace cool on my birthday and distract myself. So I had 3 pretty cool ideas of things I could have done on my birthday. One involving Lake Tahoe, one involving Big Sur, and the other one kind of involving the North Coast. But well, I wasn't able to do any of those. I had to come home, and I have to be here, and that's fine. I'm sure, my sister's probably going to... Well, I know my sister bought a nice bottle of champagne, and we were going to go over to the hot spring and drink it tonight, but we walked over to the hot spring yesterday, and it was pretty funky from all the rain, so I don't think we're going to do that. And to be honest, it's probably still going to be too hot to go in the hot spring. So, golly, to be honest, I probably won't end up doing anything for my birthday. Maybe she'll take me to... Well, there's not even anywhere to go to dinner. Like, the restaurants here aren't even open yet because it's still so friggin' hot. Like, there are a couple of pretty good places to eat here in town, but unfortunately they're not open yet because one guy's doing some remodeling. The other place, I just don't know. I think stuff around here really doesn't open up till October. So, I don't know. I'm sure my sister's a very kind person. I'm sure she'll do something for me tonight. So it's not like I'm just gonna have to sit there and, bite my fingernails. But I won't be doing what I want to be doing, which is either sitting in a hot spring somewhere in the middle of nowhere, or even just hanging out in the back of my car somewhere, looking at my toenails. I don't know. I don't know what I want. I made a video about a year and a half ago before we bought this compound talking about home. I've never really felt like I had a home. Obviously when I was a little kid, I felt like home was where my mom was. My mom, my sisters, and my brother. Then I moved out. I moved to Vegas, and I guess Vegas was sort of my home, but Vegas never really felt like home. Vegas is a transient place. People come and go, and not to bag on it, because there's a lot to recommend Vegas, but it is kind of a superficial place. So that never really felt like home. And so then when my sister and I bought this property, I thought, finally, yes, I'll have a home, a place that I enjoy coming back to between adventures. And I'm sure it will eventually be that way. It's just overwhelming right now because there's so much going wrong. But that's why I have to be so thankful for having these 2 awesome friends come stay with us and help us with all this stuff. Because once we have a shaded porch and, a functioning, we do have a functioning washer and refrigerator, and oh my God, it'll feel a lot better to come home when I know I'm not just facing a mountain of problems. Golly, look at all this sand that flooded in here. This is extreme, but not too extreme for me to handle. Nothing's too extreme for me to handle. I know I've faced some challenges before, and God, no matter how beat down I feel, I can always find some little reserve way down deep in the pit of my belly that I didn't even know I had. Just when you think you've given everything and you're just ready to give up, there's always that one, oh wait, hold on a minute, there's one more reserve down there. It's like a bottomless well. I guess that's why they say hope springs eternal. It really does. There's always some little tiny, sometimes it's only a tiny little grain, but it's there. And sometimes that tiny little grain is your whole kingdom. That's it. That's all that remains of my kingdom. My once vast empire crumbled into dust. Save me, Bastian. Remember The Never-Ending Story? If you ever saw that movie, The Never-Ending Story, oh my God, when I was a kid, I loved that movie. And at the very end of the movie, well, it's about a kid who gets bullied. These bullies chase him, they're picking on him. So he's running away from these bullies one day, and he runs into an old bookstore to hide from them. And when he comes into this old musty bookstore, and there's this old man in there who gives him this book and goes, read this. And so he takes the book and he runs to school, but he's late to school and he doesn't want to get in trouble from the principal. So he sneaks up to the attic and just starts reading this book. And it's this weird adventure story that's like metaphysical. And somehow he's like inside the story. He becomes part of the story as he's reading the book. And at the very end of the book, like there's this beautiful child empress. She's this beautiful little child actress. And her whole kingdom is crumbling. And somehow the kid ends up in the crumbling empire with the empress at the very end of the movie. And this beautiful little child actress is holding this glowing grain of sand in her palm of her hand. She's saying, "Save me, Bastian, save me, say my name." And so the kid who's reading this book in the attic of the school has to make up a name for this empress and scream it out. And like, at first he's reading it going, "No, this can't be real. I'm not going to yell out her name. I'm reading a book. It's only a book, right?" But then he gets so carried away with the emotion of it because she's crying and the whole walls of the castle are shaking. He's going, "Please, Bastian, say my name." And so finally he just goes, "Okay, I don't care." And he throws the book down and he goes, "Moonchild." I guess Moonchild is the name he picks for the empress. I know, it's pretty corny, but hey, it's a movie and it's from the 1980s. What are you going to do? Anyway, once he yells out her name, the shaking stops and her empire is somehow reconstituted. Well, guess what? I have thought about that scene many times since moving here because I brought all these crazy costumes and BS and, feathers and sequins and stuff out from Vegas. And I'm trying to cram it all into this house, which frankly isn't big enough for it. And that means I need to get rid of a lot of it. I was like, I don't want to. It was my empire. And so there's been a few times where I found one little sequin or rhinestone from one of my costumes laying on the floor, and I'll hold it in my hand and go, "This little sequin is all that remains of my once glorious empire." But that's not my empire anymore. My empire is now Death Valley, and I guess that means the empress needs a new set of clothes. I can't be wearing feathers and sequins out here. This is Death Valley, man. This is hardcore. I need new clothes. I need a new attitude. And I guess I need a new name, just like the empress. Just like the child empress in the Never-Ending Story. Well, maybe I need a new name. So if you're watching this video and you want to help me save my crumbling empire, well, all you have to do is say my name. Say it. Please, please, everyone watching, say my name. He'll save my empire. The shaking stopped. It worked! You saved my empire. Now I have an even weirder empire than anything I ever had in Vegas, so, well, I'm just gonna stop my belly aching right now and, well, I'm gonna walk back up that hot, newly graded driveway and get back to work. Because when you're going through hell, the only way to get through is to keep on going.